Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second episode of the Fine Cut podcast. Today we have, same as before, Hayden White. How are you doing?
Absolutely, 100%. I'm doing fantastic as always. I am very sorry about last episode, guys, with all the quotes out there. I know that
Why are
could
you
be a meme
sorry?
at some point because I said it too much
Said
and it
what
could
too
eventually,
much?
you know.
What did you say?
I said, you know. I
Oh,
said that
oh,
too much.
sorry.
I
Yeah,
said that
okay.
too
Well, I
much.
didn't realize you said that until now. So,
Yeah,
oh,
well, I just don't want people to play drinking games and, die of alcohol poisoning because I must have said it, quite a few times.
oh, well, disclaimer: please do not try that.
Absolutely. I might get in
Uh,
a lawsuit too.
we don't want that now, do we? Nah.
No.
Podcast ends after 2 episodes because we're being sued.
Yep.
And I'm Jethro Randell, same as before. And you have a story for us, don't you, Hayden?
Yeah, Larry King passed away a few hours after, just before this recording, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the guy's a legend, in my opinion. I don't think he's as well known over here, is he, Jeff? I'm not, that's not.
No, but it's a big thing in America, definitely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy's legendary. And I guess if you look at a lot of journalists and interviewers today, they really, took his style, his direct style. Would
Mm.
that be a fair thing to say? He was, I don't know. I wouldn't say he's the first person to do it, but his style of being very direct, asking those, hard questions, was kind of his signature thing.
Mm. Tell you what,
Mm.
I really loved his voice. It was
Yeah, absolutely. He could have been like a boxing ring announcer
just
or something like that.
smooth,
Yeah,
smooth voice.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I watched his stuff on YouTube. Well, that's when I first watched his stuff. I didn't know about him before that. I was watching him interview the Slipknot lead singer Corey Taylor, and I really liked him in that. He asked those direct questions, and we got to know a lot about Corey. Through his
Mm.
questions, kind of.
Sort of ashamed to say this, but I first heard of him from B movie.
Oh
But he
yeah,
was
yeah.
in the B movie as a B version of himself. And
Oh
like
right,
where the
yeah, yeah,
bees have their news
yeah.
announcements. I remember seeing that. And then I saw one of his interviews and I thought, I recognize him from somewhere. Oh no, he's the interview guy from B movie.
Yeah.
Instead of the other way around, which was yeah, shame to announce that, but
Yeah.
fun trivia if
And
you didn't know he was in B movie.
yeah, and he did it for over 60 years. Like that's incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
he was over 85 years old, wasn't he? I think he was
Mm,
86, wasn't he? 86.
yeah.
And to do it for that long and just be able to keep people there, for that long.
Yeah.
I'm saying a lot again, but um yeah, have an audience for that long, it's incredible, man.
Mm,
Absolutely incredible.
no
He's
respect to him.
absolutely, and oh, I can't believe when he came off when he went to YouTube because he went from TV to YouTube, didn't he? Is that what happened? And they
I think
replaced him with
so.
Pierce. Yeah, they replaced because he had his show on TV and then he did Laurie King Now, didn't he? That was on YouTube, and they
Mm,
replaced him with Pierce Morgan. I was like,
mm.
really? I
Yeah,
mean,
Piers Morgan doesn't have that voice. He doesn't have a soothing voice.
you could argue that Pierce Morgan asked those direct questions, but I don't know.
Mm,
He's not. I don't think he has the same.
yeah.
You know, he's not got the same technique as Larry King, in my opinion.
Nah, definitely.
Like, people love Larry King, but Piers Morgan's like hated figure, I guess. He definitely is in America because he got kicked off TV for it.
Yeah, and the news of the world for an hacking scandal as well. But
Yeah,
that's another topic. That's
yeah. You know, it's sad that he's gone, but the legacy that he's left behind is something to be remembered for sure.
nah, definitely. On other news, Christopher Nolan, there are rumblings that he's going to leave Warner Brothers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Warner Brothers, I don't know, Warner, with the superhero stuff, Warner Brothers, well, why am I saying superhero stuff anyway? I mean, Christopher Nolan hasn't done Dark Knight trilogy for, well, not Dark Knight trilogy, but he hasn't done a Batman film for years now.
9 years now. Wow,
Yeah.
we're getting old.
But yeah, well, it was to do with streaming, wasn't it? To do with the old streaming thing, which we covered last time, but the HBO Max, deal they've got with them.
Yeah, instead of putting it in cinemas, they're just like, oh yeah, put it on HBO Max because Wonder Woman 1984, they did that. And doing it with other things, and Nolan's like, bruh, I'm not with you to be to have my stuff in. I'm not with you to be part of your streaming service. I'm here to like make cinema, and if he's not going to be able to do it with them, off he pops. Which is a shame because he's been working with them since Batman Begins, ever since that. So the majority of his
Yeah,
career, and he's just like, yeah, toodaloo.
yeah. I do get where Nolan's coming from, but actually, what do you think to this thing first, Jeff? Because I've kind of got a split view on this.
I think I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, it's not going to last forever. And
Yeah,
his film's already been out in the cinema, and it's going to be like 2 or 3 years before he's going to make another one. If his previous career is anything to go by. So hypothetically, it wouldn't really affect him. Because touch wood, it'll blow over by then, and his next film would have a big release.
well, yeah, I don't think it's going to matter with Nolan anyway, because Nolan's already got his audience out there. But the other thing that Nolan's got to understand is, yeah, it is a real shame that they're going down the streaming route, but they've also got to make their money.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, to survive. So cinemas are obviously, I don't know how it is in America. Well, I said that last episode anyway, but over here in the UK, there are no cinemas open at the time of this recording. So, what are they going to do? They have to do streaming or something like that, and they're losing money that way anyway.
Yeah. Well,
And with the current situation, it doesn't look like cinemas are going to be open anytime soon.
yeah. Maybe take a leaf out of Jonathan Nolan's book, because since 2016 he was a co-writer with Nolan for all his films until Interstellar, and then he worked on Westworld.
Yeah,
Which
because
HBO is still like Warner Brothers thing. They're still like under that parent company. But being a TV series, yes, he shot it on Super 35, but it's still out there. And the last season aired in 2020.
I know who Jonathan Nolan is. I believe he actually wrote Memento as a short story first before they made it a film.
He did as well, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you I'm going off topic here. Do you think Christopher Nolan's work hasn't been as good because Jonathan hasn't been involved with it as a writer?
That is a very good question.
Because if you look at what he's made through the 2000s to over up to 2020, I don't know. I don't know if the films, like, don't get me wrong, I think they're all good, but I don't know if the quality has been the same.
So you're thinking that having a co-writer, he sort of reined him in on like, yeah, this isn't exactly, or this is a bit too much.
I'm not sure, because if you look at his last couple of films, like Tenant and Dunkirk, they haven't been as well received as his other films.
Mm. Okay, just looking at this. No, Jonathan Nolan didn't co-write Inception,
Right.
but he co-wrote Memento, Prestige, Dark Knight Rises, and Interstellar. So I wouldn't say just because Jonathan Nolan wasn't involved it means it's about, because Inception, that's still considered one of, if not his greatest, by a lot of his fans.
Yeah.
But like with all writers and directors, they need that reining in to say, actually, what is this? This isn't exactly that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I don't know, to be honest with you. We don't actually know all the ins and outs because we weren't crew members, we weren't producers or something like that. I don't know where I'd put Dunkirk in Nolan's films, or Tenant for that matter. I'm still very undecided about Tenant anyway because I need to see it again. I like a lot of his earlier films a lot more than I like his later ones. To be, if it's me anyway, I know Interstellar's really loved by a lot of fans, but Memento's one of my favorite films of all time.
Would say same there.
Prestige is a very clever film, very entertaining, even though it's more of a drama kind of thing. It's like mainstream audiences seem to like it a lot as well. Obviously, you got Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Dark Knight Rises was, I like it. I like it a lot, but some people don't like it, like you, for example, Jeff. Was there any? Oh yeah, Insomnia was pretty good as well.
That is underrated. That is,
Yeah.
Like if you're watching this and you haven't seen Insomnia, please, thank us later.
It's one of his forgotten films, if I remember correctly, which is strange because it's got Al Pacino in it. Which
What about The Following? His very first low budget film.
Yeah, I like that as well. But obviously, it's not very well known. It's a very short film, actually. It's only like an hour, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
so it has that charm.
Yeah, but a lot of like directors, their first few films or their first film isn't as well known. Like you've got Peter Jackson with his, is it Brain Dead, the New Zealand horror? That's his kind of underground film. George Lucas, you could argue American Graffiti. There was that one before that, wasn't there? THX or something like that.
Do you want me to IMDb it?
Yeah.
But no, I know what you mean.
THX. I think it was TH. I think it's called THX or something like that. But they all have. Everybody has. I think a lot of them do have their unknown films.
What's his name? Darren Aronofsky and Pi.
Yeah.
Who else was there? Low budget ones. Fincher didn't start off low budget. He directed what's his face? Alien 3.
Yeah.
And Tarantino, Reservoir Dogs. Everyone knows that, don't they?
Yeah, everybody knows that one.
You're
But
right.
yeah,
THX 1138.
yeah. So there you go. It's everybody kind of has their unknown films. They seem to pop up later though, when if these directors get famous, when they do get famous,
Yeah.
they seem to pop up later on.
James Cameron, Piranha 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Who's heard of that?
Well, I've heard of Piranha 3D, 3 Double D. Such a cheesy title.
Like in 1981, 82. I think he did that.
Yeah.
And then he
Yeah.
did the Terminator afterwards. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the rest is history from there.
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
So while we're on the topic of like things like Interstellar and that, we have last year those guys, those NASA astronauts, taking off to the International Space Station in a SpaceX rocket, which is a move that many people on Earth thought, yeah, that is leaving the Earth. That is probably the best option right now. We support your decision. But yeah, you get all these other films like Interstellar and Gravity and Ad Astra that have that realistic space travel, which has been quite sparse times before that, haven't they?
yeah. I believe warp speed's not a real thing, is it not? That's what I. That's what an astronaut claimed, was it, or something like that? Warp.
Uh,
I'm not. I'm not the best person to ask about this. Obviously,
it's a
all about this, Jeff.
theoretical thing.
Theoretical. Well,
There's
that's what.
there's the Alcubierre drive is what it's called, where it's sort of instead of moving the ship, they create a bubble of space and then move space because matter is subject to relativity and it requires infinite energy to get to the speed of light. So the more you get to it, the more energy you need to input to get faster. But space isn't subject to the laws of relativity, so you can move it like that and what to do. But there's that energy to create that bubble, or then move it and stop it. So again,
So,
that's the theoretical part of it.
so it'd be a case of finding that energy. Then would it? Be a
Yeah.
case of find that energy because obviously I read the. Well, I didn't read it. I watched a video with the astronaut going through different space facts in films, and he was saying we currently do not have any kind of warp speed travel
Does that
mechanism in place.
mean of a faster than light? Faster than light travel?
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? That I think that's what he was referencing.
Because like in Star Trek, there's the whole theory about it's basically the Alcubierre drive, but they use matter and antimatter to create
Right.
that energy, which in theory should produce that massive amount of energy. But
Yeah.
it's the question of how do you produce it and how do you store it? Because any type of matter just annihilates and creates a massive explosion. So you need to store it in like a magnetically sealed container in a vacuum. But there's producing it as well, which also costs a whole lot of energy, which again, that's the theoretical part of it. You say it's impossible today, tomorrow they'll be like, oh, actually,
Yeah, it's like what they're doing
science
with
for you.
space. It's like what they're doing with SpaceX. Is it by 2025 they want to colonize Mars or go there? I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that'll be possible going to Mars?
I don't know. I guess I guess anything's possible. They were saying years ago that we won't be able to go to the moon, and we did, and so who knows?
Yeah,
But
just
I
don't
don't know
die.
if it's going to be the same as the films are predicting it.
Mm.
Like, yeah,
Mm. But say throughout our solar system, going to say Mars, if you had warp speed, it would take, I think, 4 minutes to get there if you're traveling at the speed of light. If you're
yeah,
traveling through conventional rockets that we have today, it will take around 3 months, 3 or 4 months,
yeah.
depending on where.
I think it was 4 months. They were saying it was going to take them to travel there.
Mm.
I believe, but it'll be. We'll find out anyway what happens if it happens.
Yeah, what they're
Should
going to
be.
do themselves, because Interstellar had, because they were going to Saturn because of the wormhole was orbiting around Saturn, and they put themselves into like a sleep, which I guess, yeah, plot devices.
Like a cryo sleep or something like that.
Yeah,
Is that what they call it?
like an alien, which
Yeah.
I mean would work if it's going to take um, months to get somewhere. Would you rather spend all that energy like keeping the crew active and possible other psychological impacts of cramped and isolated environments, or put that energy into keeping them asleep and then wake up like, oh yeah, that was a good sleep, I needed that, and go on with their day.
Hmm. I don't know. I
Mm,
guess. Well, I guess they don't have the technology to do that at the minute, so it would be a case. Well, who knows? In 2025, it could be that could happen.
never say never. But
Yeah.
like in Ad Astra, when that was using almost conventional rockets, is like theorizing what would be like in 50 years' time. But going from the moon to Neptune, it took months. And you see the psychological impact it had on McBride, where he was starting to like mutter to himself or start to see things, and
Yeah.
or days just blurred. Which, yeah, they would happen, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Like Ad Astra is quite a more realistic take on space, isn't it?
Mm,
Really. What if it was like if I was given a prediction of what future space travel would be like, I think it would be like Ad Astra.
mm.
I think it, yeah, definitely.
So you get these films like, say, Star Wars, where, oh yeah, the fantastical elements of it, but you also get in almost every single year a space film with realistic space stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, um,
Although with Star Wars, the argument is that it's not on Earth or
mm,
anywhere near Earth. Like it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's the argument with that one, I guess.
science fantasy versus science fiction.
Yeah, yeah. That's what a lot of people like. I don't think Star Wars is a science fiction. I think it's a fantasy more
Yeah,
than anything. Like science fiction's is about science. Well, it explains in the title, science fiction.
yeah, or yeah, all these things about, yeah, and even like little things about the physics, where you get the conservation of momentum and like everything with that, or even hearing things in space. That gravity was a good thing with that, because there was the music and there's the intensity, and then you see from the distance all these like bits of debris coming at you. You don't hear anything until it hits you or something that you're holding on to. That almost adds a lot more tension, doesn't it? What do you think of
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Like Gravity is. I mean, I really like Gravity. The sound design in that is just phenomenal. When I say that, there's not really much to hear, but yeah, it's it's a phenomenal film. That is just the sound design is like it almost takes you into space, doesn't it? Really,
Mm,
it's like taking you on this space journey and giving you this more realistic representation of what space is like, rather than something like Star Trek that's got all these sound effects in space and
yeah,
whatnot kind of thing. And also how dangerous it is as well. Like it's really suspenseful with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney,
mm,
stuck on that station or whatever in a bit of a what's the word, a dilemma.
mm,
It's it show it like shows people how dangerous space can actually be.
yeah, for sure, definitely.
Because
Yeah,
I think that's something that a lot of films miss. Like, oh, space is this wonderful thing, but I'm like, but is it? Is it this wonderful thing? Like, yeah, sure, it's interesting and stuff, but is it? What's it actually like in space? Would like the average person be able to survive in space itself? Because there are a lot of like precautions, and obviously, to be an astronaut, you have to do years of training, be so ready for it, because
yeah,
anything can go wrong while you're in space, and it's not like, and space doesn't have the same rules as it does on Earth, so it's like um what's the word, so you can't get away with the same stuff on this planet as you can do in space. Basically,
mm,
you make a mistake in space, you could be done for.
yeah. It's almost like being in the middle of the ocean, like Point Nemo on Earth.
Yeah, yeah,
You're just out there, and anything goes wrong. Well, good luck, because no one's gonna come and tell you. Probably
yeah,
an icicle or piece
yeah.
of beef jerky floating out in the middle of space. Because
And
once
plus
you're
it
out there, oh, sorry,
no, it's all right, just carry on, Jeff.
uh, uh, say if you were flushed out the airlock,
Yeah,
it's like breathing and that, but because there's a vacuum, all the air just gets violently sucked out your lungs, and you just go, oh! You try to breathe and you try to inhale, but you can't, because even though your diaphragm expands, there's no air to put in. You got the raw radiation from the sun. It cooks you. You're not protected from the ozone. You got all that ionizing radiation is cooking you. You got the moisture from your mouth and your eyes um, start to boil away. Not because it's hot, but because the boiling point is now so low that you just
yeah.
and you just, oh, obviously it would be painful. Or maybe like your digestive system, you'll get like evacuation of your bowels. Again, lovely stuff, but
Beautiful.
um it just, and then you die in like, well,
Yeah. Because
within minutes.
what do you think to all the films like representations of getting stuck in space? Because
uh
there's all sorts of different ones, but obviously, what I know is that it's never been tested on a human being.
and ethically you won't be able to, would you?
Well, no,
So
obviously
bye
not.
bye, Jimmy, you're gonna, one step for mankind, you're gonna be beef jerky in a few minutes. Mm.
But what do you think too? Because what films does it happen in where they like get stuck in space?
Are they just like in a spacesuit, or are they on a ship that's stuck?
Spacesuit or spacesuit or like getting sucked out on a spaceship?
um I'm not sure. Probably gonna kick myself once we end the podcast, but it's got to be something like that.
Because isn't Ad Astra got a scene like that, hasn't it, in a spacesuit?
Oh yeah, on the way to Mars, they have that Norwegian primate research ship that the
Yeah,
primates escape from,
yeah,
and oh yeah,
yeah. And like, what about? Actually, no. This is on Mars with Total Recall. Like they that. Can you remember? Can you remember Total Recall where like their
oh
eyes
yeah,
explode and stuff like that? And
and the tongue just yeah. But then all of a sudden, there's oxygen in the atmosphere, and the eyes and the tongue just go back in, and it's like nothing ever happened.
yeah, but Mars is cold, isn't it?
Mm.
So how does that work? Well, actually, no, we don't really need to. It is a film, so I guess you don't need
Yeah.
to question it as much.
Well, fun fact: during the day, the sky is red on Mars, but in like twilight, it's blue.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like the opposite of here, because their atmosphere is mainly carbon dioxide, which tends to refract more of like a reddy orangey color, but our atmosphere is mainly nitrogen, which is
Mm.
mainly blue. I was surprised to see like liquid nitrogen is actually blue.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah. And also with Mars, there's always been like these questions about life on Mars. Like in films, we see them a lot.
Yeah, David Bowie.
David Bowie, yeah. But what do we think to film portrayals of aliens?
Or mainly two arms, two legs, the head, similar face, aren't
Yeah,
they? Which is a bit of an assumption.
yeah. I think a film that does alien representation well, if there is any, if you believe there is any, is Arrival.
Yeah.
Like you've got a lot of films that have like English talking aliens or just aliens that talking. Arrival, they don't speak. It's not their way of communicating.
Mm.
They like have the I suppose you could say tentacle or hand signs,
And the sort of
whatever you want, symbols,
yeah, symbols.
symbols. Yeah, and that's interesting to me because that's that's such a like that's such a that could be a real way of looking at it if it is true, I guess.
Mm.
Because you got to think not every being can speak. Like obviously dogs don't really speak; they like woof and stuff, but they don't have a language of any sort. I'm like, well,
That we know
could
of.
that be true? Could that be true for aliens as well?
Yeah, like can they communicate through lights, but we can't see it?
Yeah,
'Cause our hearing is from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, and our visual spectrum's between, no, it's on visible light. We can't see radio waves or anything like that.
hmm. Yeah. I just found that film a very interesting film because it's a much more well thought out way of looking at alien life form.
Mm.
Like they may not be what you expect them to be, if there is any out there.
Yeah, and the whole military response to that is sort of sadly probably what would really happen. They see it in the sky and want to shoot it down.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know because you don't know what the life forms are like as what's their nature, what's their characteristics. Like I know humans are very complex. For all we know, we could be one in, I don't know, a billion, a trillion, whatever, in terms
Mm.
of complexity compared to other species or whatever you want to say. But
Yeah.
there could also be species that are exactly like us.
Mm.
in terms of complexity. They have emotions, feelings. They have different motives behind them, like we do. But there's also the chance that the beings could be savages.
Maybe. Have you heard of? Is it Moore's law? I'm going to Google this, but it's the equation that takes into account every single factor of like an alien civilization, and like say the environment, a cataclysmic event on the planet, different factors that allow life to develop, the probability that life would destroy. Also, no, Moore's law is to do with computers. Oh, what is that? Sorry, I should have become more prepared. It's not Moore's law. It's
You've already forgotten, or
yeah,
you have
it's that
forgotten.
equation.
but yeah, there's obviously that. Have we got? What else do we have? Obviously, we could have, the xenomorphs, for example.
Yeah,
Xenomorph come to like the Earth and just like eliminate everything.
the Drake equation.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So I just had to say that. No, xenomorphs. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's also that. There's also that forgotten film, isn't there? Apollo 18. What do you think to that?
Oh. I mean, don't think it actually happened, but as an
Well,
alien
no.
life, that's interesting because it's like bugs, really. What we refer to as bugs, which, yeah,
That I don't know. Like a lot of people, I've read reviews on it, and it's obviously not very well received. But it's an interesting way to look at things because it's like, oh, why did they not go back to the moon? Like, why did they not stop there? But obviously, I don't think that. But it's an interesting way to look at things in terms of theories.
there could be another sort of theory. It's like in something like, say, Star Wars or Star Trek, where they have like the bipedal species.
Yeah.
Like Star Trek in The Next Generation, they had an episode where they sort of explained it as there was this one species that so the genetic material that would create all these different species in their own image, but sort of like different variations of. So there'd be humans, there'd be Vulcans, Klingons, Cardassians, and that, and they'd all be sort of within that framework. And that's sort of an interesting way to put that. And there's a word for it. I think it's called panspermia.
Right.
Like with biogenesis of life here was created by um, another extraterrestrial being or species.
Yeah.
But that still begs the question: where did they come from?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Although this is a little bit off topic, have you seen the film Tree of Life
No.
with Brad Pitt? Oh well, it's a very interesting film. That is, it's by the director of Thin Red Line. He like makes he doesn't make films very often. He like makes them every like 10 years or something like that. I've forgotten his name now. It's Terrence something.
It's Malik.
I believe that's it. Thin Red
Okay.
Line. And that film's kind of it's a very strange film for a lot of people because some people have argued it's a bit all over the place. I really like it. It's one of those artsy films. if you like artsy stuff, I definitely recommend The Tree of Life. But it's kind of exploring ideas about life and what life means.
Okay.
Because you've got this story about this family. I can't remember when it was now, if it was the 50s or something like that. But like they lose, like you're looking at this from this kid's perspective, and he's like lost his brother and stuff. There's that story, and then there's other stuff in it, like there's dinosaur montages and all sorts of stuff. Like it's bizarre, but it's also kind of unique in what it does.
Yeah.
But
Oh, okay.
yeah, you need to watch it, Jeff, really, to understand it.
I'll add it to the list.
Understand more of what I talked about. It's a very split film, really. It's obviously it's one of those films where some people understand it and some people don't.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot. I think that's not the first time Terrence Malick has had mixed reception, is it?
Well, everyone does, especially if it's artsy. So you get
Yeah,
people like, oh, yeah, this is too artsy. People said Ad Astra was too artsy.
yeah. It's kind of I would say it's in the experimental genre, if anything.
Mm.
That's where it would probably fit in the most, because it's not just really a drama. It's got all this other stuff in it, and it's very experimental in what it does.
Yeah. Um, Going on to another topic, probably a bit late to the party, but those monoliths that popped
Sorry.
around, those monoliths being popped around, sort of tying it into like films from like scientific, sci-fi, realistic films, and alien life. There was the monolith that was in the beginning of 2001: Space Odyssey. There was the one that was on the moon, and the one that was at the end of the film. And someone decided to put them around on Earth near the end of last year, didn't they? There was the one in Nevada. There was the one in Romania. One on the Isle of Wight.
Yeah.
Colombia as well. They popped up everywhere. Which, that was a little fun thing to...
What do you think happened there then, Jeff?
Personally think it was an arts thing. What do you think to it?
Yeah, I do think that as well. Maybe they watched 2001: A Space Odyssey and thought, yeah,
Oh.
I'm just going to shit everybody up during this time because there's a virus around.
Aliens are coming.
Aliens are coming. I'm just going to shit everybody up, make them more scared than they already are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a bit of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, because there's been quite a few hoax, hasn't there, over the years? Like there was a Gene Wilder one that was so weird.
What was that, sorry?
Before it was a few years ago, but there was like a Gene Wilder there was like some post saying that Gene Wilder had died, and he
Oh,
hadn't actually died yet. Well, he did die,
yeah.
obviously a few years later, but there was that one out there about it.
It's also the... kind of want to save it for another podcast discussion, but the declassified UFO sightings from the US Air Force.
Yeah.
Back in April, I think it was, where it was the height of the pandemic, and people, as soon as like, oh yeah, actually UFOs are literally that, even the military doesn't know what they are, and everyone just, oh, okay. People just didn't care about that. Because there was the raid on Area 51, and I think people burned out after that.
They can't stop us all.
Oh,
They can't stop us all.
man,
But
that was a year and nearly a year and a half ago.
yeah, but going back to alien treatment, because this just came to mind. District 9.
Ooh, yeah.
What do you think to that?
Oh.
Would that be a more realistic way to look at things if aliens came?
Yeah, if they want to coexist with us, yeah. Like, who's
Yeah.
to say they wouldn't? Because if they really did want to destroy us, they'll do it from a safe distance, well in Earth's orbit or beyond. Why would they
Or if
come
they,
down if they wanted to destroy us?
well, it depends if they had the technology as well.
Mm.
Depends if they would have the technology. But would that be if District, is District 9 a more realistic way of looking at if that kind of situation was to happen, would it happen that way, do you think?
Yeah, possibly. You have a good point there. It's sort of has a different take to it all.
Yeah. Would there be also that kind of treatment as well around it?
Yeah,
Because
must be.
obviously, because you were saying earlier about the military response and stuff.
Fear,
Would it
fear, fear.
fear? Would that be the way they would treat aliens if that was to happen? Would
Hey,
it?
that's the way America treats immigrants. Which that,
You had to go to that. You had to go there, Jeff.
well,
The
being
political
being
stuff.
honest, it was an allegorist sort of take on
Yeah,
that, wasn't it?
yeah,
So
yeah. You could. Well, that's the whole message behind the film, isn't it? The kind of you want to say that the alien camps are like refugee camps, almost, don't you? Kind of.
mm, yeah, or the ICE. What ICE do is put people in like immigrant camps, which is basically just internment camps. If you look at the treatment of people, um, but yeah,
Would
there's
you would you
that.
argue that would you argue that the film's basically trying to say that immigrants are being treated like aliens in different countries? Is that a
Yeah, well, they're
fair
literally called
argument to make?
aliens in some contexts. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is true. Like something that's alien to somebody, that means it's the unknown to them.
mm,
If you storm upon a tribe like an Amazon tribe that has no communication outside their area, that's alien to them.
yeah,
So I guess that's what the film was poking at. I guess poking at that idea that they treat immigrants like aliens in some countries. I'm not gonna say any country because I don't want to get any get in trouble for it off anybody. But yeah,
yeah, it's mental that, like aliens and things like that. And the other consideration is when Europeans went over to the Americas, they also brought a lot of diseases, which killed off a whole bunch of the population there. So if
right.
aliens come here, yeah, they might kill us all, but not intentionally.
Yeah, there's also that. I remember a show um about aliens coming to Earth and stopping here, different species. It was called Defiance. It didn't last very long as a TV
Defiance.
show. Yeah, that's
Oh,
it.
I love that series. Yeah.
It didn't last very long, did it? Though,
Gutted. Ended too soon.
because the only reason I found out about that was through I watched an Angry Joe review
Mm. Oh,
of
of
the
the video
game.
game.
Yeah,
Mm.
and he was shitting on it pretty hard, and then he basically built it. He said, "Oh well, how's the TV series going to be if the game is shit?" Basically,
Oh, the TV series was. It's great.
I don't know. For me, it was missing some things in it that should have been in it. I only really watched the first season. I believe it was two, wasn't there? Was there 2 seasons?
3 seasons.
3 seasons, right? But
Got them on
what do you?
Blu-ray.
Yeah. What? How do you think? What do you think to that? Do you think that's a realistic way of looking at it, or if that was to happen?
Yeah, like aliens coming over all this way because their system's been destroyed, and they think, oh yeah, we're gonna terraform this planet, only to find out there are people living there. Do they go elsewhere, or do they stay? They would stay, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
oof, uh,
Do you think it has similar kind of themes as District 9, or is it trying something new?
I think it's something new. Because in Defiance there was the Earth, the human sector, and then there was all the aliens also there. But Defiance was this self-governing city-state in a way. That was separate from all of that.
Yeah.
So it's like a good point to see the intersection within that world and that diversity of it. But yeah, in some ways, yeah. In other ways, I haven't really seen anything like it before or since, which is a shame how it ended so soon.
Well, yeah, we've seen aliens come to Earth, obviously through District 9 and live there, but I don't know, I guess it was trying to be a massive scale kind of TV show, but it just didn't have the success
Yeah, the
of,
budget sort of. Well, it was also cancelled because of the Sci-Fi Channel's poor management of series. Like they
yeah,
fund Sharknado, but something like Defiance, yeah, nah.
yeah, yeah. Also, another like going back to space, there's another concept that maybe there's no life in space.
Okay.
Because have you played Dead Space?
No, but I've heard of it.
Well, obviously the title, I mean, the title kind of suggests it. Well, this is one of the reasons it's called Dead Space is because when they go to like these different planets in Dead Space, there's no life on it, and it's just and there's the planets aren't very inhabitable or anything like that in Dead Space.
Mm.
So there's also that concept of, well, maybe there isn't that much life out there, although in Dead Space, obviously you have the necromorphs, which are life forms, through this artifact. But that's another thing as well. Like this artifact is kind of a big part of like the necromorphs life forms. They like the artifact like manipulates people into like killing themselves and like giving their bodies to the necromorphs and stuff like that. So there's also that kind of side to it, that alien life form doesn't necessarily mean it physically moves or anything like that. It could be an artifact, for example.
Yeah.
Could be an artifact that like gets into your head. I believe that Star Trek had something like that, didn't they, in one of their episodes? Like something that manipulated people.
One of the 800 episodes of over 50 years. But
Yeah.
which episode was this? Sorry?
I can't remember now, but I do remember I'm sure there was some sort of thing that manipulated the group or something like that.
Is that in TNG?
I honestly can't remember, Jeff, but I do remember something. But anyway, that
Oh, connection getting a bit.
said, "Oh no, Jeff, we got some lag here, guys.
Oh no.
Got some lag,
Oh,
unstable."
you're
Oh, there we
back.
go. There we
Oh
go. We're
no.
back.
Uh,
There we're back. Sorry, guys, my internet connection is pretty poor, to be honest.
normal service will resume soon.
Oh no.
That's all right. As you were saying.
Wait, are we back?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, we may have to, like, games like Dead Space could make us consider that there may not be as much life out there as we are led to believe.
Mm.
Because yeah, well,
Right.
I explained it anyway.
Yeah. What about artificial intelligence? I mean, that probably another topic of its own, but instead of having life out there, what if there's life we create ourselves?
What,
Because
like
in,
Terminator?
yeah, or say Battlestar Galactica, where that's a spacefaring series,
Yeah.
but they're just humans and they're just islands. There are no aliens. So all the Matrix, where, but that's mainly Earthbound, so that's highly
Mm.
surprising.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's also that. I don't know if that would be something that actually happened though.
Mm.
There's no. Is there any cases of like computers gaining intelligence?
Well, Moore's law, which, okay, yeah, mention this, but this is in proper context. It's all coming together. It's all coming together. Moore's law is, again, I'm going to double check because I could embarrass myself.
More slow.
But nah, more like Cole's law.
But
Moore's law is where there's the exponential growth of intelligence in machines. Yep, every 2 years, there's a little growth. I think like twice, but they reckon reaching the singularity point would take a lot longer than originally thought.
okay, is like I played the a good example of this is I played the Detroit Becoming Human
Oh yeah.
game. Have you seen that? Yeah. Is that more of a way to look at it if technology was to gain intelligence? Like, would they be classed as their own kind of like because there's different options in the game, obviously, of where you can go with it.
Mm.
But like the androids in the game, like develop a conscience and they gain feelings and stuff like that. Is that something that we could see?
Well, probably, but I think the question is also, would they look like humans? Because if they look more like us, we'd be more likely to accept them in their feelings. Probably the same with
Yeah,
aliens as well, because if the aliens were an indeterminate blob, they might be sentient, but if they don't have like a face like we do, we wouldn't really have that same, that pareidolia is what it's called when you recognize features of like a person, relate to it. We don't have
yeah,
that same connection to them. So instead that we'll be more likely to dismiss it.
yeah, yeah. I don't think it's possible anyway for it to happen.
No? Never say never.
I don't see it happening anyway because I don't think I think the inventors have watched too many films anyway about it.
Mm. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We zigzag through some quite philosophical and
Yeah, we
existential
can't. We
topics.
did some mumble jumble in this episode, so I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I actually increased my vocabulary today because I've only got like the vocabulary of a 7-year-old normally, so it's nice to get out there.
You're selling yourself short. You've got more vocabulary than a Facebook expert.
Oh, I don't even want to go there, Jeff, with that rant.
Okay,
That can be
let's.
that's gonna trigger a lot of people if I go into that.
Save it for another episode, eh? Well,
Yeah,
thank you for tuning in. That was
thank you.
Hayden. This is me, and we will say goodbye and stay safe, everyone.
Stay safe.